Hi, I'm Julie Meyer. I'm the host of the FTE Winter 2024. I'm here with Martin Euredjian, the founder CEO of Spectrum Alchemy. In from California, here to Lake Zurich for the FTE Winter 2024. It was great to have you with you. You were a hit. Everybody wanted to talk to you. I mean, I knew it was going to be cool, but you were really, people were fascinated by what you're doing and an unconventional approach to energy. Tell us about that.
Well, the basic idea came out of realizing that the transition to electrifying our infrastructure, meaning going electric with homes and vehicles, is simply going to take too long because we need better technology. And after modeling the numbers, running some simulations in software, I realized that the problem is so large that it might take well into next century to get there.
That's a long time away.
It's a long time away, yes. And I'd like to see some of this happen this century. And so, again, looking at the numbers, I realized, well, one of the things that came out of the analyses is we waste a tremendous amount of energy. That's where the idea, if you will, for Spectrum Alchemy came from, is this idea of let's optimize energy utilization in as many places as we can. And if we do that, we release energy we already produce, we waste, and we can use for we put to better use. And that might include electric cars and growing food closer to centers of consumption, which is becoming increasingly important.
You know what I loved about it is that we've had, I don't know, a dozen conversations since we were introduced by our mutual friend Gina in Glasgow, George, and the idea just grows on you, right? Mm-hmm. The first time I thought, okay, so smart guy, interesting, and then I kind of thought about it, and then more, and each time he told me a little bit more, and I kind of thought like, yeah, and why are we wasting so much energy? Why has this not gone mainstream? Your analysis, your engineering talent, why is this not more common sense that we should be very focused on saving energy?
You know, it's hard to really understand why that might be the case, but it could be that if you just look at it at the micro level, just to use a parallel example, when you turn on your faucet to brush your teeth,
yes.
In some cases you just leave it on. You don't think about it. That's a lot of water is being wasted, but it's a micro level. Now, if 1 million homes do that simultaneously, it could be a tremendous amount of water. 10 million homes, right? And you start extrapolating or amplifying that small waste turns into a massive waste at the town, city, state, national scale. So I have a feeling that there's a certain element of this is just innocently wasting energy because we just don't think in those terms. We have so much excess that we're not forced to conserve energy.
But we're not paying for it. I think if I knew that I was going to lose $1,000 a month if I left my faucet on, I'd be darn sure not to leave my faucet on. To what extent is it just human nature that you've got to pay or receive a financial reward in order to change behavior?
I think that, and we're getting into the idea of, well, how do we encourage optimization? And I think policy might have a role to play in this. This whole idea that it is actually better for a business, for a warehouse operator to save energy because they will save money. Right now, there's no penalty for wasting half the energy. Of course, it costs them money to waste energy, but it's not as visible, perhaps, because it's the status quo. It's what we've been doing in a very innocent way, but it's what happens, right? And so we just haven't thought about this. And I think that the other thing that comes into play is, in computer science and AI, there's a concept that's called a forcing function or optimization function. It's what makes an AI system learn and find solutions. The forcing function, if you want to transliterate that into other aspects of life, is the thing that tells you how you should behave.
Got it.
Right? there is no forcing function in electricity usage that encourages optimization and saving. What will turn into this forcing function will likely be electric cars. As we discussed during my presentation, electric vehicles will require so much power that we will have problems with the grid, we will have problems with generation, and then it becomes this forcing element where either we build more power plants or we conserve.
Now, I love that about your presentation. It was quite clever, and I know we're going to share the presentation, your keynote online as well, and so forth. But you connected and correlated nuclear and solar, and it just walk us through that again, because it's very and the way that you did it was fun.
Yeah, I'd like to. I really enjoy trying to simplify complex engineering topics.
You're very good at it.
Thank you. And so in this case, you run through all the math, you go through all the analyses, and you say, we need 1,200 gigawatts. Fantastic. What does that mean? There's no tangible sense of what that number means. And so what I came up with was to say, well, look, a typical nuclear power plant produces 1 gigawatt of power. Let's not talk about gigawatts, let's talk about nuclear power plants as units of measure. And so in the United States, the prediction was we need over 1,200 nuclear power plants to make a full transition to electric vehicles. 300 million cars and trucks turned into electrics.
Say that one more time, because that's a really unbelievable thing that I think most business people or Europeans, Americans, wherever would. 1,400? What did you say?
The number that my simulation produced was between 1,000 and 1,400 gigawatts, or just say nuclear power plants, if you wanted to use that as a unit.
To go fully electric in terms of transportation.
And that does not include the idea of that the entire grid needs to be updated. Today, the U.S. has a capacity of 1,200 gigawatts. That just coincidentally, that's the number.
Right.
So we have to double or more our power generation capacity. A lot of people talk about energy. That is the wrong measure. Power is important.
Define terms, help us.
Okay, so the example that I used in my talk is a swimming pool. The amount of water in the swimming pool, you could make a parallel to energy. That just means energy. If it's full, you've got all of that energy.
Okay.
Power is how quickly you can fill the swimming pool.
Got it.
So if the example that I give is, let's say that you have to fill 1 million swimming pools. If you have 2 years to do it, your garden hose can do it, no problem. We can fill 1 million swimming pools. What if I only give you 30 minutes? We have to rip up the entire infrastructure of a city, the water processing and transportation or delivery infrastructure, and to be able to enable filling 1 million swimming pools in 30 minutes. And that swimming pool is the battery pack in an electric car.
Wow, there we go.
So if 1 million cars plug in simultaneously, you need power. Energy can be delivered over a long period of time. But the energy you need to be able to fill those batteries, those swimming pools, in 30 minutes, and 2 hours, and 4 hours, the only way you can do that is by having a high amount of power. And that's where the big numbers come from.
So are you bullish about EVs?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that they are the future. We need better battery technology, and we need obviously the infrastructure to support them. I think that they go hand in hand. We all want a cleaner, sustainable future. And my decision was to start this company with the idea that I can help accelerate the transition to EVs, and also I'm also big on indoor farming, food production, by simply taking energy we already produce and recovering it by optimization so that we can add cars. One of the metrics that I have is that if we can implement our technology, our system, software and hardware across commercial buildings in the US, we can we can release enough energy, enough power to enable 30 million electric vehicles to deploy.
You have a first implementation of your process and platform in Singapore. How'd you pull that one off?
Relationships and a lot of hard work. So the story is that our first system went into a farm in Singapore called Comcrop. Peter Barber is the CEO, and Peter understood the vision that we have for energy optimization for indoor farming, which is critical. Energy in indoor farming is a very large portion of their business equation. And so much like we have solutions for commercial buildings, we have intellectual property that allows us to deliver more efficient photon delivery. And I don't talk about illumination or lighting, because plants don't need illumination, they need photons. We use illumination to see colors and see images. Plants use photons to make carbohydrates, to make plants. It's a photosynthesis. It's a very different process than us seeing images. And so it was a lot of hard work. It was converting our IP into a tangible product and delivering a system that's in 5 buildings right now in Singapore for a year, doing very well.
Is it a hedge on your go-to-market strategy? Could you just not figure out which way you wanted to go? So you got 2 markets that you're going to market on?
No, that's an interesting question, because it can be confusing when I talk about both. What ends up happening is that we start to realize that the energy optimization technology now can serve 2 markets that are, to me, equally important. One enables releasing energy. The other market enables high quality, accessible, nutrient-rich food that can be grown close to centers of population. And I like both, right? In other words, it's you save it here and you can use it there, and you can use it on vehicles. And it just so happens that there are so many parallels between the energy optimization technologies that we basically said, let's service both.
Right.
It's not 2 separate companies, and it's not 2 completely different products.
You're learning from both sides.
Yeah.
I got it. Now, you have a happy family. Is part of your desire to make the world a better place the fact that you want to make the world a better place for your kids?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
don't you think that's kind of like what drives a lot of entrepreneurs, and they don't talk about it? Because
I would hope so. I would hope so. I mean, I
never hear that question though, but I just think I see a lot of dads and moms, and actually they're putting their focus into things, and it is implicit that they really want to leave the world in a better place for the kids.
Yeah, I would hope everyone would want that for their kids. I personally get my kids involved in all the crazy projects that I do.
It seems that way. I saw some photos.
From building, we have a really nice solar array powering our home, and we built it with the kids. And when I say build, I mean literally bolting things together with the kids. And
not forced labor, but almost.
It's happy labor. And yes, it's for them. At the end of the day, it's for them. I think that if we think in those terms, the world becomes a better place all around.
Well, they must be your kids. I mean, you've worked with some big brands. Just rattle them through. You've worked with a bunch of interesting people in big companies and so forth. Just for the record. From film and everything.
Film industry. I've the way I like to put it is I've worked for some of the best, and I've competed with some of the best. For example, one of my nemesis for a while, for about a decade, was Sony. I gave them a good run for the money, having a million times less money than they had with technology. I worked at SpaceX for a couple of years, where I was part of the team that designed parts of the Crew Dragon spacecraft.
Wow!
And that was a really, really interesting.
But they called
experience.
you in. Let's be honest. Let's not be too humble here. They found you. They called you in to solve a problem that they couldn't solve.
It was a very interesting entry point. Yes, because they were trying to solve a problem that I happened to have expertise in, and they found me through suppliers, and I was in there for 12 hours the first day that they invited me to just come in and have a talk, and they wouldn't let me go until I basically said, yes, okay, I'll help.
Yeah, it was interesting because that's kind of what happened at the FTE Winter. I think everybody found you a fountain of knowledge and a resource, and it's going to pull you into the advisory board. But let's talk about constraints for just a bit.
Yes.
they drive innovation. They really do. It's not about having all the money in the world. It's about what you do when your back is against the wall,
Right.
and you've got your team and you've got a problem that you really want to solve. Why do you think, and you're from the States, although you weren't born there, we're going to talk about that in just a moment.
Okay.
Why do you think so many Americans, myself being one, but I've been in Europe for a long time, think that you throw enough money at the problem and you solve the problem? What is it with the fascination with money solving the problem when in fact the constraint also significantly helps you solve the problem? And where do you fall out in that whole process?
Sometimes having too much money allows you to, much like having too much energy, you can end up wasting a lot of it without really thinking about it or noticing it. And so I come from an entrepreneurial family, and I watched my parents build companies when I was a kid, and they always built them with nothing, and just worked hard. And innovation is super important when you have to basically make do with what you have, and grow from there. And I think ultimately, that phrase "necessity is the mother of invention" is what drives a lot of us to figure it out and not necessarily need huge budgets to do it. Now, where the money comes in and it's necessary is once you do have something like what we have, funding becomes an accelerating factor. Right, and that's what we're after at this point.
So you backed yourself. I encouraged you to come to the FTE Winter. Really glad that you came. A lot of interest. You'd be open to people coming in and co-investing with you. What does that look like? What does good look like right now in terms of partners, financial partners, investors?
Lots of really interesting conversations. Just to sort of put context to this, the technology that Spectrum Alchemy started with cost us about $2 million to develop in the prior company, the prior startup that I had. We kept all the IP, and there was a realization that a lot of that technology was applicable to this world of energy optimization. So I just rolled it right into Spectrum Alchemy, added cash to that to be able to develop the new solutions. So this isn't a startup in the sense that this isn't a research project. Yes, we have an installation already. We've made a sale, a non-trivial sale, but we're looking at probably 6 months after funding, we can have 30 to 40 SKUs, different products, ready to go, ready to sell. As opposed to a 1, 2, 3 year development project before you earn $1, if you will, right?
Right.
So I don't like to call it a startup because of that.
I understand that. But you're open to bringing in several million.
Yes.
And you have your team.
Yes.
Guys that you've worked with before, and so forth. And it's a global play. You're in Singapore, you're in the US, you're in Europe, and so forth. What concerns you about the way that the world is going? Is there a regulatory thing that you're not sure will work in your? I mean, where are the problems? It can't just be open sailing. Where are the issues?
With respect to the technology we're developing, or in general?
To the business opportunity.
I think there are a lot of forces at play when it comes to the transition. There are groups obviously that are unsure of this new clean energy world. And one of the things that I talk about is this idea of you need to unite people through understanding. And so if we can, this is where I feel that optimization could be a great message, because even detractors will understand that having a building that consumes half the power that it does normally is a good thing for everyone. And then if you take that energy, that power that you are saving, and you apply it, for example, to adding 10 million cars to that environment, electric cars, then people will start seeing the benefits of it without having to have a massive nuclear power plant 5 miles from their home, or acres and acres of solar panels and windmills, which, there's some issues with that. And so I'd like to think that some of the friction could be avoided if we start focusing on optimization, introduce people to the new paradigms with more efficient, cleaner technologies, and then people will just become supporters because they'll understand. Who doesn't want to live in a cleaner city?
Well, that's part of the role that we see ourselves playing, is in putting yourself and the other entrepreneurs that you met on stage, on TV, on platform, at podium, sharing and communicating the vision. I think there's an educational communication role to the entrepreneur. And I think you're really up for it. I think, that's what's been great, is just that, there's so many entrepreneurs that kind of get into the problem and so forth, but you understand that communication's necessity, and that's really fantastic. Now, in terms of the opportunity to expand the business and so forth, is there some part of the go-to-market strategy that you think is particularly special, or is it what you've said already, or is there something more that you want to add to how you're going to do this and take off?
We have a two-phase strategy. Because the team, as you mentioned, we've known each other for quite some time. We have 30 plus years of experience in multidisciplinary engineering and business. I keep coming back to this idea is that we're not a startup in the Silicon Valley sense. We want to have product in the market, start building the brand and the channels of distribution immediately.
Yes.
And then underneath that, we are already developing the next generation products, and we have a really interesting intellectual property strategy that will cover the products that will come out about a year and a half later.
Yes.
But by that time, we are fairly solid going concern in the market with brand recognition and really good quality product, high quality product in the market, much like what we did in Singapore. So that's the most basic strategic element of this. It's the intellectual property, which requires a little bit of time because of European IP laws.
Yes.
We've got to be careful with that, but we go to market immediately with a bunch of products that won't be affected by that.
Excellent. Now, will you come back?
Yes, absolutely.
What is the best part of the FTE?
Oh boy, it makes you think, ideas, learning. It's humbling.
I always think that we're giving people a pair of glasses.
Sure, yes.
We're putting them on. When I think about why I do what I do, it's because I think I have one of the best ways of getting people like you in that seat on my podium. And if I can continue to believe that I can bring the best entrepreneurs together, and I can put my own money in, my investors' money and my friends' money into things, then I should be doing that. That's what I should be doing, because the reason why somebody should be a financier of innovation and entrepreneurship is because we know who the best entrepreneurs are. Pure and simple. Just that. That's it. Nothing more.
Yeah, and you put enough of us together and synergies surface. Conversations happen. Ideas get bounced around. And we all learn, and we all come out of this with perspectives that you wouldn't have if you just stay in your office and think about what you're doing and not what somebody else is doing. And in a way, it's a question of, I always try to think this way when I have the opportunity to meet with other entrepreneurs, is what can I help you with?
Yeah, indeed.
Right? Because that goes around, comes around, right? And
That's right.
I'd love to help other entrepreneurs when I can.
Well, that was very clear, and you brought a lot of terrific energy. I think what also became clear, in particular this time at the FT Winter 2024, everybody here is just playing for that system level win. It seemed again and again, people were really, whether they use those words, but there's an optimization for a system level win. Let's get out of, these people win, these people lose, and so forth. And how do we create ecosystems where the economics are actually growing, right? We call that ecosystem economics. We call that system level win. And it's just a deep positive current to society. Thank you for joining forces with me and coming here all the way out from Los Angeles. It was great to have you with me. I'm glad that you're going to come back. That brings us to the end of my conversation with Martin Euredjian of Spectrum Alchemy at the FT Winter 2024.
Thank you.